Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to this edition of Get the Money Moving with me, Emma Jones, the Small Business Commissioner. And I'm very delighted today to welcome an entrepreneur for whom I have great respect. Cas Paton is building an amazing business called OnBuy. Over the next 20 minutes, we're going to find out more about how OnBuy started, how Cas is helping UK sellers export all over the world, and what he thinks about the topic of prompt payment. So, Cas, lovely to have you with us.
Yes, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, Cas, let's start a little bit at the beginning, because I know you're in super scale growth mode at the moment with the business, but take us back to the beginning. How did you come up with the idea for OnBuy and how did you get going?
Well, my background was in tech. I've worked with entrepreneurs launching e-commerce businesses into the market since I was 16, 17 years old, building websites, and then moved into e-commerce. Then I set up my first limited company at 21 while I was doing a law degree. And, always been involved in the e-commerce space. And then around 10 years ago, we realized we had around 1,000 e-commerce clients across 8 countries. And we decided, I wonder what would happen if we took all their products and put them on a central platform, and how many products would we have? And it just started as a brainstorming exercise and then very quickly turned into a reality after an investment of my own and a few gambles. I might be oversimplifying, but we turned the business into the OnBuy you see today. And it was a huge investment of time and energy, but it was worth it. I think it's a fantastic business that we have. Past, and stay true to the thousands of retailers that we work with. So, yeah.
Love it. And I think when you lean back, I think I can see a little bit of branding going on there, can I?
Yeah, it's very rare you'll find me not in something that says OnBuy these days. My wardrobe is looking very much branded. OnBuy or Comet, but we'll talk about that. And yes, OnBuy is a major part of my life now. Yeah, all of my children are wearing OnBuy, so we do our bit in our household.
I love that. The next generation of entrepreneurs has already begun. But this is the thing, Cas. One of the things I love about you is the extent of your ambition. And you have said you want OnBuy to be the first global marketplace. So share with us, what does that mean? And if you don't mind, Cas, just give us an insight as to who are the types of businesses that are selling on OnBuy.
Absolutely. No, OnBuy, we really want to take it to be a truly local marketplace, but globally. And that takes an enormous amount of technological investment, development. It's a huge play. And for me, it was a lot of large American marketplaces, especially one starting with A, have invested in expansion and their way of doing expansion, but quite often they don't actually have local marketplaces. If you look across Germany, there isn't a marketplace in every country for every language, for every currency. They try and simplify the operation. And obviously that's because of the logistics and the challenges around the product. But for OnBuy, we wanted to tackle the problem through a technological solution first. So, we are now a 21 country marketplace already. We launched outside of the UK in 2025 with our first 12 countries. We've launched our latest 12 countries in the past few months. We're now a 10 currency business already. And this has laid the foundations of what's possible for us to go further afield, because we're still only but we're still only a European operation. And our aspirations are much further afield. We see OnBuy being able to open doors very soon into new markets and stretch outside of Europe. So there's a lot to unpick in that. It's complicated, but it's also really exciting. And the kind of businesses that sell with OnBuy are extremely broad, actually. We work with small marketplace sellers who maybe don't even have their own website, but they can source good products. They can source good products, and they need the marketplace to sell those products, all the way through to major brands, household name brands who want additional exposure, or they want to tap into the incremental sales stream. and everyone in the middle, retailers, e-tailers, wholesalers, bulk sellers, liquidators. We have thousands of retailers on OnBuy, from brands you would recognize, retailers you would recognize, and then all the way through to brands you wouldn't recognize because they specialize in marketplace sales. And obviously, we're more than happy to work with brands that only want to work in one market, or if they want to cover all of our markets. So we give a lot of optionality to the seller. Where do you want to sell? How do you want to sell? And our investment in our product is only going to make that even easier soon, because we're opening new ways to connect to OnBuy in Europe at the moment with some fantastic new partnerships. And we're really invested in making the European marketplace as big and as strong as it can be before we start to look at moving further afield. So it's been one heck of a journey to open those 21 markets, and there's a lot more to come.
I love it. Only just the beginning. And Cas, I wanted to ask you, because as you say, you give entry to 21 markets. Are UK businesses making the most of that?
I would say it's relatively new on OnBuy. When we opened our first 12 markets, it was predominantly cross-border to start with. So it was it was UK businesses selling into Europe for the first, I would say, year. And then it's really only in the past 3 months that the doors are opening in terms of the technological possibility. Because when you open a new marketplace, you have to technologically connect to the platforms that local sellers are actually using to list on Amazon or eBay or whatever the local marketplace channel is. And that takes time to integrate, build relationships, and the door is now open. We're working with some fantastic partnerships in Europe that make it easy for those local sellers to join. So yeah, the UK sellers that we work with right now, a lot of them are tapping into that European supply. I'd say Europe is operating around 350% year on year growth at the moment, so it's really quite fast paced. It's accelerating at the moment, which is really exciting as we're letting more supply on. Cross-border is a really, really important part of our marketplace platform. We see cross-border as being the biggest opportunity for sellers. With Brexit, a lot of retailers felt that selling into Europe is extremely difficult, and maybe it's a blocker to progress. Many walked away from retailing, and what we've done is we've tried to simplify the process for retailers and explain the process. It isn't that difficult to sell into Europe, and we're making it technologically easy for sellers to sell into Europe, and vice versa. So our platform is designed to make that possible. And then as we move further afield, our next country will be the United States, and we're tackling that from a cross-border opportunity. We delayed the launch of the United States because of particular tariff challenges at one point in time. We're just letting the dust settle, but then we will go further afield again. So now our job is to make it easy, and our team are there to support retailers that want to sell into Europe. So it's definitely the right time to do it.
I love it. So the mission that we're on in the Office of the Small Business Commissioner is, how do we make life easier for small businesses? And I love that this is a repeated message from you, is you're removing friction to make it easier for small businesses, well, businesses of any size. So Cas, let's just kind of talk about that, because you previously mentioned household names. You recently acquired what was a very well-known household name in the form of Comet. So tell us, what was the strategy behind acquiring Comet?
Yeah, it's a good question. We've been looking. If you remember when Wilko, a huge brand, went into administration, we actually put the largest bid on Wilko, but unfortunately for other reasons weren't successful. And we've been keeping our eye on the market for premium brand equity that we can restore. It's part of a really interesting part of our strategy. And when Comet came along as an opportunity, we saw it as something that we could really bring to life in a strong way. OnBuy's business is technologically focused on opening the door to new selling channels. We're not precious about being OnBuy and only OnBuy. We want to follow where customers go, and we want to create opportunities. And sometimes customers don't want to shop on a marketplace that has 21 departments and 35 million products. They want to go to a specialist, or they want to go to a partner brand. Or our technology is designed so that we can feed products through to other channels. Comet is the start of proving that strategy and delivering more value, because customers will recognize Comet. They will trust Comet. It's a very historic, powerful brand. And it's very interesting, because for OnBuy strategy, what this does for our investors and into our private equity space, it gives OnBuy the opportunity to say, well, when we launch in America, should we buy a brand? Should we team with a brand? And we actually have something really exciting coming to market in September this year. It's completely confidential at the moment, and we'd love to see you again around September. But we are doing something massive in Europe that is also going to change the game in Europe, a little bit like Comet in the UK, but across all of Europe. So Comet was a proof point, a powerful brand that taps into the nostalgia and really shows that we can technologically expand into new brands, but also shows that customers will enjoy shopping with other brands in the ecosystem. It's an exciting step of our strategy, but it's also exciting for businesses that want to sell through OnBuy, because we see a lot of success in niche marketplaces or niche platforms that tap into a different type of consumer and allow products to sell much more comfortably for the buyer, feeling that they're buying an electronic from an electronic specialist, or they're buying a toy from a toy specialist. Or so it's part of our strategy, but it's really powerful, because when a seller sells with OnBuy, they connect their inventory, and if the products are applicable, they'll feed through to Comet. They don't need to join Comet as well, and that's really part of the mission. So it's really exciting, and we should see Comet go online in September as well. So September's a big month for this company.
Brilliant. Well, watch this space. We'll definitely have you back in September to find out more about that European one. And in September, Cas, I'd love to talk to you about the high street, because there is an element of this where people hopefully do still want to shop on their high streets. And I think it's this kind of interesting blend of online to off. But we'll maybe hold that one until September, because I really want to talk to you about payment as well. And huge thanks, because OnBuy recently signed a fair payment pledge that we had with other marketplaces. Cas, tell me, in your entrepreneurial journey, and now you're running this amazing multi-territory marketplace, what does fair payment mean to you?
It's a good question. For me, I think going into the market as a fair platform at the heart of what we do and have always done. I think we joined the market from a totally new way of thinking. When we started OnBuy, our mission was to be fair to the seller and fair to the buyer. And for us, there isn't a marketplace that operates the way we operate. So trying to find all of the ways of being fair and being a partner to sellers as well as a partner to customers is really important. If you look at other marketplaces, there's anti-competitive questionable behavior that's been reported on platforms where sellers join and their data might be helping to fuel what sells, what the marketplace should buy, how they should retail. And for OnBuy, at the heart of what we've done from day one, we said we want to be a partner with retailers. We want to work closely with retailers, and we want to make sure everything we do is fair. So for us, your commitment to the market aligns very well with the core principles of what OnBuy has really driven since day one, and that's why it's such a wonderful platform for sellers, is because we're really on the seller's side in our platform, and we will continue that commitment as we grow. It's part of our core unique proposition is that we're a partner to to sellers and customers, and not just a one-sided platform.
Love it. Let me ask you a final question relating to that in terms of your growth trajectory, because it's very clear, as I say, that you're growing at kind of hyper speed. You previously mentioned investors. And of course, on this webinar series, I always say the best form of finance is your own cash flow. So this is why getting paid on time is critically important. But
Yeah.
Cas, just kind of tell us your journey about raising money. So where did you go to raise it? And if you don't mind sharing, how much of your time is currently spent with investors and shareholders?
Yeah, good question. No, payments is the backbone of business. How many businesses, as you know more than I know, fall into troubles because of cash flow? It is so important to our business that we're here to support and be fair with sellers, to make sure that they can operate healthily and that their cash flows are really protected. When it comes to investment, it is so important for growing businesses to realize that there's only so much you can bootstrap sometimes and do on yourself. It could be that inventory is required. It could be that warehousing, new locations are required. And on our journey, there's been multiple events where we either grow slower or we go bigger because we can take a bigger piece of the market, or we could invest in a technology, or buy a Comet, or whatever it might be that we think strategically aligns with our core values, and our cash flow doesn't support those investments. And we've had to look at financing through different mechanisms at different times. In our very early days, there was well, the company was fortunate that I had invested basically every penny I had saved in the first round, and that was my commitment to making this product, this fantastic business, a success. And then when I was essentially tapped out, the next step was we need to look at venture capital. And for us, we were still a small business, so a seed business. So we sought investment of sub £1 million at first. We just needed to really refuel ourselves, and then shortly after we hit into a Series A round with our VC, probably a year later. Off the top of my head, I think it was 5.4 million we raised in our Series A, maybe pre-Series A actually, because then we did a Series A, it was 20 million in 2021. So we went through 3 really quite quick investment periods between 2019 and 2021, because the business was growing so quickly in 2019. And what did we do? Well, raising money is never easy. And when we first started the business and we first needed to raise money, I mean, we tendered our business out there to every VC that we felt was applicable to the business. We went out and tried to find the right partners, and it's not easy. And I think it's a learning curve as an entrepreneur to figure how to approach raising money and who to go to and where you're wasting your time, because it doesn't fit, and that can be quite difficult. But really, depending on the stage of the business, these days with AI, a quick search into who might be the applicable venture capital firm, who's investing in your space, gets you the right names. And then as we've grown, there was some debt finance, which we cleared. And now we're moving more into a potential private equity space, a different stage of our life cycle. And once again, we're going through a learning curve of how do we enter this market? This is new, this is different. And it's part of the exciting journey, I think, of being a founder and a CEO is the new experiences, the new learnings, for different reasons. So when you're looking at cash flow in your early stages, we're going to run out of money if we don't raise money. This is part of the strategy. And in your private equity stages, you're a profitable business, and you're taking just further investment because the capital can give you even further growth. So different stages for different courses, really. It's never easy raising money, but it certainly helps if you do your research and figure who might be the right business to speak to at the right time, depending on your business size. There's no one size sort of fits all solution to finance.
Amazing. Kaz, honestly, huge respect, because it seems as if you're learning throughout this whole journey, which I love, and open to change, open to growth. We wish you continued success. I would love to get you back in September to find out more about this European activity. And as I say, would love to talk to you about the high street as well, in terms of making sure that online commerce also fits well on the high street. But in the meantime, wishing you all the best. Thank you for paying your sellers on time and making sure that fair payment goes throughout all that OnBuy.com does. Cas Paton, thank you so much for joining us on Get the Money Moving webinar today.
Thank you.